everybody. So I just wanted to touch for a moment on hay preservative. This is a hay preservative system called the Green Saver, and basically what it does is it is an acid spray that goes on your baler, and this is an older version that mounts on the front part. It has a homemade bracket system that somebody put on the baler. I'm actually taking it off for my paint job. It also has a sprayer here that points down into the chute here, and two sprayers here that also discharge spray into the baler. If you have a computerized program, this has the pump on it, but we don't have the computer system that goes on the tractor. You can actually measure your hay moisture content, and this is fully automated that way, so that you just are going through and adding spray as you need it, and it will tell it one nozzle or two nozzles or all three nozzles based on the moisture content. If it's a higher moisture content, then it sprays acid preservative on your hay bale or your hay as it's going into the chute before it's baled. Basically, it's, you know, all disassembled right now for painting, but it's picking up that hay. And my husband told me that we're taking off these hydraulic hoses now. You can see we've got it apart here for repainting. We had a couple of worn parts. Well, I started looking into it about our wear parts, and of course we bought this used. I believe he said it is an 84. We've got a rust hole here, and this is a summer only hay implement, so I was kind of curious to why it had rust. So then I started looking in here where the spray shoots, all up in here. It's all primed right now. It was really rusty. This panel has been replaced, and there was another line here, so I think this whole bottom has been replaced because it's a much lighter gauge metal than right here. So everywhere that spray was shooting, it was really corrosive to the metal. So we won't be using that because we sell organic hay. So if you are purchasing hay for your livestock, a lot of people say that it's organic or that it's grown organic or that it's preservative free. This is what they mean by that. So it can help you bale your hay and get it out of the field if a rain is coming. For us, we have so many of our own livestock that if we have to bale it slightly higher moisture content, you just make sure that you feed that first, because we can feed, you know, 100 bales in a very short time at feeding, you know, 8 to 10 bales a day. So overall, looking at the wear on the baler, you can see here's where this panel was put into the back. So I was wondering, why are these screws here? And that was the reason for it. That metal, that acid was so corrosive to the metal that this is a lot more beat up. But, you know, we're making do with what we have. We're not buying a new one. It still works fine. It was just rusty, and now I'm finding out why it was so rusty. Hey everyone, we are back out at the hayfield. So I just wanted to show you, this is second cutting going on. This was second cutting right here where it's taller. And he cut that probably a week and a half ago. We had a lot of rain, and we had some things going on, because you can't just farm every single day when you've got little kids and when you work full-time too. So today he is making hay. We are clear for about 4 days. No rain coming. And this is some wonderful alfalfa hay. Because there wasn't much rain before, the grass didn't take off real good. And I noticed in that first patch, there's lots of clover, finally. Most of the clover wasn't even visible this year. He's running with his umbrella on, just like I asked. Cutting with the John Deere 37 sickle bar mower. And the John Deere 730. We came out to bring him some lunch. Look at that nice tractor. And the reason I wanted to show you this, it is possible to make hay without taking out a tractor loan for $40,000 on a used tractor and expensive equipment. Now, we sometimes use the John Deere swather. The swather is 14-foot cut. This sickle bar mower is 7. The swather is being used on an oat field right now. So he has to make twice as much work for himself, more fuel, by using the sickle bar mower. But he says it's so pleasurable, it's so quiet, and with the umbrella, it's just so nice to be out here. Can you see all these butterflies? There are hundreds of yellow and white butterflies flying around here. There's a couple flying off up here together. I don't know if they're mating in this field or if they're just using it for pollen, but they sure do have plenty of food here to give them energy for mating. We see monarchs through here. They're in here getting their bellies filled before they head south. It's just a wonderful, wonderful crop. It's great for cash crop. It's great for feeding our own cows. So there's some there's plenty of diversification going on here with the hay field. You have to diversify when you're farming because you never know if the meat's going to be high or the hay's going to be high. If the hay is low, you can feed it to the animals. The pigs eat it, the cows eat it. And they seem to kind of go back and forth. So when the hay was low, the beef was high. So it was more beneficial to raise the cattle and keep the hay. Now last year the hay was really high, so we just did both. This year the hay prices just go up into winter. Those first cuttings are always low. We hang on to it, store it full of the barn, and sell it later. Okay, so I just wanted to touch on and tell you about like why you hay rake. What are the steps of making hay? A lot of people don't understand that don't do hay. They're like, oh, you cut it and you go bale it. So actually first you cut it, and there are different methods of cutting it. You know that we use a sickle bar mower that's 7 foot, so it'll cut 7 feet at a time. And then there is a hay bine, and the hay bine gets pulled behind the tractor and it cuts it, it sends it through a roller. Sometimes they have a built-in crimper in it. Sometimes the roller just kind of squeezes it out and it helps it dry faster. And there is the swather that we use. It's also referred to as a wind rower. Some people say wind rower. We really like the swather that we use because it is 14 feet. We get twice as much done in that same amount of time. Now, that being said, John Deere 2-cylinders, they are the most fuel efficient tractors you can get. We have the 720 and the 730. We've got a 70, we've got a 60. There's an 820 or 830 around. So lots of different 2-cylinder tractors you can use. And of course my little 40, 420, 435. There's lots of different models. So they shut down the 2-cylinders in the late 50s. I think it was 1958 or 59. I could be wrong on that. I'll have to double check it. You can let me know in the comments down below. So here is the hayfield. We were tedding this yesterday. And what happens next after you cut it with whatever method you're going to cut it, then you go back, and one year we actually even brush hogged it because something was wrong with the sickle bar mower. I think the pitman arm had broke, and he had to get it done. So that scattered it everywhere like this, and it dried really neat. But it also chopped it up into fine bits. So it was really hard to feed that the way that we feed because it was all coming back at me and I was getting layered in a shower of hay. So this hay now has been tedded, like I said, and now he comes out here and hay rakes it. The tedding it spreads it all out nice and even. The sickle bar mower cuts it, it just lays it down. It's the neatest thing to see. Look at some of the other old videos. Or punch into YouTube, sickle bar mower, John Deere sickle bar mower. You can go on my channel and punch it in and it will lead you to that. So right through here, it's much thinner. This is a more sandy spot. So it's all tedded out. You can see where it's sandy right there. And then it looks kind of brown. Well, the green is where it's been cut and the brown is where it's drying. So then you come back in the hay rake and that puts it into a nice even row. You take part of it, it goes into one row. You go on the next side and combine those two rows. And you can combine it as many rows as you want to be able to make it into the substantial quantity that you need to bale it. So then you come by with the hay baler. It picks it up with the little head, goes through the machine, compresses it with the arm, and comes out as a bale when all those sections are put together. When they're put together in the bale, it's called leaves. So it's forming each leaf at a time, and the pusher plunges it back and forth, and packs that hay bale. So when your hay is not dry, it actually will compress it and make too heavy of bales, and then you end up with broken bales a lot. So you have to be careful of that. So right now, this hay is ready to rake, and it's going to pick it all up. It turns it over and puts it into a row, just like this. So it goes through that whole section right up here. So he's back at the house, filling up his fuel. I saw something shining here in the grass. Try to always make sure there's no garbage. And I've had some herons in here recently. Or some people call them Sandhill Cranes. And they have lost some feathers in here. So I wanted to show Becky that because, as you know, we homeschool. And it's never too early to start learning. Bethany is 4 years old, and she essentially learns things that are like kindergarten level and higher because we just kind of combine everybody. So everyone's learning all at once. So here comes the tractor, and he is going to be able to show you that hay rake in motion. Now there are different kinds of hay rakes. We use the bar rake. There are rotary hay rakes. A lot of people really like those. We do everything we can in cash. I will tell you our farm, we do cash crops, cash financing. There's no credit. We choose to do things at a low cost with the older tractors and older equipment so that there's no giant debt accumulated, because the worst thing that you can do is end up financing against your farm and losing it. People put things up for collateral thinking it's going to be no problem, and then you end up with a bad year. Too many bad years. Creditors aren't lenient. Okay, so he's got his rear wheel all engaged so that it'll have the second wheel as a drive wheel. And like in this area where the hay's not real heavy and thick, it's no problem. You get into hills, you know, going uphill or up here, it gets real heavy. Along the woods, it's always gets kind of damp. It's real good to have that second wheel engaged to help you along. Now he was telling me the nice thing about these bar hay rakes, this is ground driven, not tractor driven. I could come out here and get this hay raked into the rows for him with my vehicle, with a Suburban. You can come out here with a lawnmower, a quad, whatever. It does not have to be a tractor. So some people are doing things on very large scales, smaller scales. It's just kind of a matter of time for most people that they want the bigger equipment to save more time. I also don't want the bigger payments and the bigger fuel bill. You can see our guys are all suited up here. Ear protection always. Sunglasses. Gotta save those eyes. I don't want these guys to have a cataract. And of course they're running with their John Deere tractor umbrella too. Hey everybody. So I was out giving my cows their water before evening sets. And I noticed earlier today that this pair of Sandhill Cranes had landed over here in the hayfield. When they're flying, they look just like giant white majestic birds. And over the weekend, they took off from the hayfield going the other direction, and they kind of hung around, but I didn't see what they were. I just saw that they were so large. There's a male and a female. One is all gray, and when they open up their wings, it looks almost white because it's so light. And I believe it's the male has an orange coating over the top part of the feathers on the back. I could be wrong if that's the male or the female, but I'm pretty sure usually with birds, the more decorative feathers are given to the males for catching the girl's attention. I'll see if I can get a little closer. I thought if it came over down by the cows, maybe the birds wouldn't notice it so much. I've never seen them so close before. They have white, and it looks like a dark burgundy over the front part of their face with a black bill. They probably stand 3 feet tall. They're very large birds. There they go. They let me get pretty close before they flew off. They'll be back.